You know what I mean? Okay. How about now? Is it working on YouTube now? Hopefully y'all got it figured out over here. One way or the other, we're going to make it happen. So yeah, it's still not letting me go live over here. I don't see anybody. There's some people. Okay. All right. So I will just rehash, there we go. Now it's working. I'll just go back to the disclaimer because that's how I started the other one. We'll let people kind of filter in here. We've got, as always, everything he said here is not financial advice, only for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always consult with your financial advisor, your CPA or accountant or lawyer before making any financial, tax, or legal decisions. The opinions stated here are my opinions. They're not the opinions of Digital Ascension Group or Digital Wealth Partners. So now we get that out of the way. We'll let some more people filter in here, and then we'll get running down tonight. So kind of back to the thing that I was talking about before I figured out that none of this stuff was working. We did have a webinar today. It was for accredited investors only. We talked about a lot of different things, ways to establish your estate, make sure that everything's structured the right way, and that you've got creditor protection, you have probate protection. We talked about the insurance stuff that we've rolled out here recently. You can set up a term life policy that's convertible into a whole life policy that you can borrow against later on. We have annuities. If you guys want to reach out to Carl von Schwartz, he can help you out on that side. You just go to exurelegacy.com. That's spelt a little weird, but it's XURE legacy.com. The website is under construction, but Carl's information is there if you want to email him and schedule a time to go over the different insurance options that we have. I know that's not sexy. It's not all the fun stuff. Nobody wants to talk about death, but it is a reality. And if you do have dependents, it's probably something that you should at least look at. I have a term policy that's convertible into a whole life policy. And as the assets appreciate and we get some pretty substantial cash flows off of, the funds and the other structured products that we're building, a lot of that's going to get funneled back into different insurance policies. Looking at an IUL for my son, I'm not a big fan of that when it comes to people that are close to retirement. It's a tool. It can be used for that. But for children, I think it's a fantastic tool because they have a long, long time before they're really going to be in a position to use that policy. I'm, looking at the way that I'm looking at funding it, my son should have about $1 million worth of value or cash value in that policy by the time he's around 18 or 19 years old. And if we do it that way, then he's got a line of credit that he can pull, and he doesn't have to come ask dad for any money out of my pocket. This person says the YouTube is dark. Very weird. We do have a lot of people over here in the chat, so hopefully they finally got here. Jake, I'm here. I think something's up with the YouTube, man. I don't know. No, it looks fine. Okay. All right. Well, as long as some people can see me on here, that's all that matters. And we are recording this, so you'll be able to listen back to it later, watch it later if you guys need to. So we also went over, some of the cool DeFi stuff that's coming to the XRPL and other digital assets. I think that one of the most interesting things to me, Axelar has launched their product for DeFi, and there's some differences between that and ours and how we do it. Ours is very regulated. It's structured, accredited investors only. They have geofenced the U.S., so U.S. investors can't participate. Same thing with Doppler Finance. Their offering is outside the U.S. They're doing it the same way that we are. It's literally the same mechanism by which they generate returns. They've just structured it a little bit differently. And we went over that for our clients in the webinar. And then, we went through diversification of your portfolio, what that should look like. And the downside is, I didn't record the webinar. So we're probably going to do another one. We're going to do another one next Monday. which will, the promotion that we're running that we announced today will still be running at that point. And so we will record that one, and that will be, put out for people. But again, there's a lot of opportunity for non-accredited people here in crypto, obviously, to become accredited and make a lot of money. And then you also have, the people that are accredited that are looking to make an allocation, coming in a little bit heavier, but needing to know like what the assurances are and how to approach this asset class in a way where, you're working with professionals and things are done the right way. We went over a lot of that in the webinar. So on to the promotion for you guys. We also have traditional assets. So we've partnered with Altruist. If you have a 401k, if you have any traditional stocks or an investment portfolio, outside of your crypto, a lot of people are, upset occasionally that they've got smaller amounts, which really aren't small amounts of investment, but less than our minimums. One of the biggest changes for us now is that if you have at least $500,000 in crypto, then, well, no, if you have $500,000 in your total portfolio, we can work with you. So let's say you had 400,000 in traditional assets and you got 100,000 in crypto, you can work with Digital Wealth Partners, even if you don't have the minimum amount of XRP that we have, which is 100,000 XRP. So we would love to work with people. You can bring over, again, your 401k, your IRA, whatever you have at other wealth advisors, along with your digital assets, as long as the total portfolio value that you have is north of $500,000. We would love to work with you. Anything on the traditional side is 75 basis points on the AUM fees, up to the same break points at 5 million and 10 million, and then the basis points drop. And then on the digital asset side, here's the other promotion. If you have at least 300,000 XRP or the equivalent value in your total crypto portfolio of 900,000, it's 75 basis points is what we're running for the promotion. So that allows people that do have, a larger allocation that may have been on the fence because of the fees to come over and save a lot of money. And then, be able to participate in a lot of the stuff that we have. Not almost everything we have right now is really for accredited investors. We are rolling out new products here in Q4 that will be for everybody. Every single client will be able to earn yield with Digital Wealth Partners in the near future. And like I stated on the webinar today, I think you're going to be really excited about who the partner is that we're working with to be able to do that. Can't talk about who it is, but I have a feeling you guys will approve of the partner. I know that you will. So really excited about that. And again, work with traditional assets. So if you have at least $500,000 between your traditional stuff and your crypto, so you could have even if you only had 10,000 XRP, but you had, let's call it 450,000 in your 401k and your IRAs or your HSA, like all those accounts, we can work with you. You can bring those assets over along with your crypto, and then we can do both, all in the same portfolio. And I do want to state this. We're not trying to take business from anybody else. If you have a really good wealth advisor, if you're happy with your wealth advisor, don't just ditch them to come over to us. They've probably stuck it out a long time with you. We want to add value. We're not trying to replace anybody, unless, we can do a better job or you feel like we can do a better job. I don't view it as competition. It's co-opetition. We want to, again, bring value to our clients and potentially their advisors if it makes sense. We're not looking to steal or take business from anybody else. So just want to state that. But yeah, so that's 75 basis points on any traditional assets up to 5 million. At 5 million, it goes to 50 basis points. At 10 million, it goes to 40 basis points. On the crypto side, we are, offering 75 basis points for anything $900,000 or more, which is about 300,000 XRP today. Get you 75 basis points, and that can be across whatever cryptos you have. So if your total crypto portfolio is $900,000 or more, then you can work with Digital Wealth Partners and get 75 basis points. And this will apply to all of our existing clients. So I know I'm going to get that question. If you are already with us and your portfolio exceeds that amount, you will be able to opt in to this lower rate. We have to offer it to all of our clients on that side. So people will get the savings, and everybody will be happy. And again, excited to be able to offer all of this stuff for this. Fourth quarter means no price appreciation. I don't know about that. Look, we're just trying to run a special to help people out. We've had a lot of people with a similar amount of crypto tell me, hey, the fees are just 2% is a bit much. I can't justify that. And I completely understand that, especially, we're a quarter away most of the time on the funds once you've allocated before you're going to get that money out to be able to cover the fees. And so, understanding that, we want to be able to provide something that allows people to participate and kind of ease some of that cost. But, price appreciation happens. A lot of people are going to be over that 5 million and 10 million, and it's not going to matter. And that was the whole point of me structuring the fees that I did anyway. So I've rambled on long enough. We're already 30 minutes in here. I'm going to get into the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday to hang out with me over here on TikTok, X, YouTube. I don't ever say this, so if you wouldn't mind, please like, subscribe, share if you are finding value here, and get it out to people. It does help the algorithm. We've got Lori, XRP. She says, if I borrow against your crypto, if you borrow against your crypto, do you have to show what the money is spent on? I would like to just pay off debt, which some use to pay for XRP. Yeah, you do whatever you want with it. It's like a hard money loan. You put up the asset, as long as you meet the LTV, there's no credit underwriting. It's not like an SBA loan where you have to show, where the funds are going to go, what they're going to be use of funds. You use it on whatever you want. Doesn't matter. And it's not income, it's not taxable, but you do owe the interest only payments back. And then you can just, with our partners, you can just roll the loan. So as long as you're current on the interest, you never technically have to pay the principal back. The assets themselves will pay off the loan at the end of it. And if they continue to appreciate over the long term, you're good. Like, that's the whole point of infinite banking, right? Like, once you have wealth, who's I listened to the other day? They said once you get $10 million, like, you're pretty much set. And I think we even tweeted about this the other day. Like, that's kind of the level of wealth where if you're just making 5% on your money sat somewhere, that's $500,000 a year. I mean, there are some people that I know that can easily spend that much money per month, but most people, if you're just living a normal life, that's plenty of money to live on and live pretty well wherever you are here in the US, or especially internationally. We got Neil. He says, I hope all is well. Do you think institutions have already bought enough XRP to back their ETFs? If so, how do we still see a price pump if they don't necessarily need to buy next month when they go live? They've been buying every month since November, my man. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the buy volume on XRP the way that we do to be able to hold price at $3. Because it's not retail. I can tell you that. Retail's not holding price here. It is the institutions and their buy volume. And there will be much, much more when the exchanges need XRP, when the institutions need XRP, when the treasury companies need XRP. When everybody needs XRP all at the same time, that's when we're going to see supply and demand dynamics shake out, and significantly higher prices for the asset. And then once they're able to use it and sustain volume over the network at those levels, that's when it will just stay there. And then it'll continue up over the long term when they need to constrict supply or add supply to be able to meet demand for additional networks coming online or markets coming online. We've got K87. They say, love your thesis. Also, appreciate Vendel and Verson. Vendel believes bull run will end next February or March, and severe bear market will begin. Thoughts? If everything stays correlated to Bitcoin and we don't get a utility bull run, sure. I think there's going to be a lot of assets that decouple from Bitcoin this time around. I think they would probably say the same. Those guys are sharp guys, you know. I'm sure that they have. Well, I know that they do. I've talked to them on the phone, so they have some good people in their corner that are probably telling them some things, just like I do. And yeah, I think things that are correlated to Bitcoin, yeah, for sure. I think we'll continue to the cyclical pattern. But when it comes to these other digital assets that are utility driven, I think that they're going to step aside and decouple from that cycle. We got Fly Fishing, Mr. Jeremy. How are you, sir? He said, when all 17 ETFs go live, will they all go up and down together based on XRP's price, or will some outperform others? Like, subscribe, join the Mastermind. Condolences to your favorite koozie team lady. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jeremy. Yeah, I mean, they're all, if they're spot ETFs, they're going to trade at NAV. That's the whole premise behind a spot ETF, is that it provides you a direct allocation to the underlying asset. Obviously, there's fees and not penalties, but fees associated with participating through an ETF versus direct allocation. BlackRock's ETF for Bitcoin's 25 basis points. And then you got, on up from there all the way up to 2% on some of the ETFs for Solana and some of the other ones that aren't quite as liquid as Bitcoin. Now, over time, as there's more liquidity and more demand for things, fees tend to go down. It's kind of a race to the bottom on that stuff. And that is also why I think BlackRock garnered as much as they did when they went to market with their lowest fee. So, yeah, they will all trade, whatever the price of XRP is, but they're going to be different prices because there's different ratios of how much XRP they're supposed to hold in order to back the one share of the ETF. So if they're supposed to hold 3 XRP or 5 XRP or 50 XRP or whatever it is, that's where it will trade based on XRP's value. We got John 316. What's up, man? I like that verse. He says LLC and Mercury Bank account is all set up. 2-day process. That's awesome, dude. I love to hear that. Super fast. Looking forward to working with UWP after price appreciation. Thanks, Jake. Absolutely, dude. Thank you for partnering with us and wanting to work with us. Again, none of this is possible for what we do if you guys don't want these things. And we want to make sure that you can protect your assets, you can grow your assets, you're able to leave a legacy for your family, and make sure that people are taken care of. I've told this story before. When I got out of college, well, actually, I was still in college. I interned at Northwestern Mutual. I felt super skeezy. It was like selling snake oil to my family and friends with the insurance policies and stuff that they were trying to get me to push. I don't believe in selling people stuff that they don't need. And I really don't even like selling people stuff. I really just like educating people, explaining some of the stuff that's out there, and then allowing people to come to their own decisions about what makes sense for them and their family. And if they need some counsel on that, providing good people that can help walk them through that they're not going to snake you into something or sell you the wrong thing. I just see so many people out there that are used car salesmen, or like, I don't know. I couldn't do that. I felt super skeezy. My whole sales career has always been, really, so you guys probably go look at my LinkedIn. I worked at Fastenal for a long time, helped them scale multiple locations, ran the 3rd largest location here in Texas. And that was just relationship driven. I would walk into places, say, hey, look, I'm not going to be cheaper than the other guy. I'm probably going to be a little bit more expensive on some stuff. But if you call me, I'll answer the phone. And I'll make sure that, if there's a better option, I'm going to provide you all the options, educate you on what you need. And you're going to buy the stuff anyway, so might as well buy it from somebody that's actually going to take care of you. And so everything I've always done has been relationship driven. I want to make sure that people are taken care of and they have the best service and that they have the best experience, and whatever they get is what they need, and not just shill them some crap for one-time sale. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand how people do that. So, anyway, that's my philosophy on it. And again, really appreciate, all the people that want to work with us. Again, without you guys, demand for these products and services that we're providing, there's no business. And I wouldn't get to wake up every day excited to do what I do. The amount of fulfillment that I feel on a daily basis is it's wild. Um, I feel very blessed to be in a position to be able to provide value and help people, and you know, make money doing it. I don't think that there's a whole lot of people that actually get to do that in their life. But I'm hopeful on the other side of price appreciation, all you guys get to experience that. You'll be able to live your purpose. You'll be able to find whatever it is that you were made for, and you'll have the resources to be able to accomplish that without being weighed down to have to like work a day job and like provide for your family through some other means. You'll be able to actually, ask yourself, what was I put here to do? What's my divine purpose, and how can I best serve, other people? And that's what I think is awesome for everybody on this side of price appreciation. We got Crypto M. They say, try this again. I'm sorry, dude, if I missed your super chat the first time. He said, if everything needs to happen all at once and the ETFs are set to go live mid-October, does it stand to reason that this rocket ship will take off then? It does stand to reason that, my friend. It does indeed stand to reason that Q4 is lining up for what we've all been waiting on. All the way back up here in the chat. Otherwise, people are going to get mad because I'm going to miss their super chat. Which rightly so. I understand that. Bought the dip on Coinbase futures at 282. Dude, Bob, you got the bottom, bro. Well done. We got Craig. He says, God bless you for all that you do. Wanted to know if I had over 15K XRP and accumulating, would that be enough to take care of my wife by 2030? If everything hung ever happened to myself, join the Beyond Broke Mastermind. Well, Craig, that's a great question. We got 5 years until 2030. I am extremely confident that at that point, almost everything will be on chain. I think the next 5 years is going to be a rapid tokenization of financial products, digitization of titles as NFTs. I think 85% of the entire economy will be on chain by the end of 2030. And if that's the case, you can imagine how much value globally there is. And if 85% of all of the assets are on chain at that point, and that value is being settled through just a few select assets, XRP being one of those, XRP is going to have to be a very high price. $50,000 to $100,000 a piece, I think, is very reasonable by the end of 2030. And so, somebody asked me the other day, 10 years, I think it could be $1 million in 10 years. But by 2030, I think 6 digits is very reasonable. Based, again, this is predicated on 80 to 90% of the entire economy, all of the assets being on chain at that point. But again, just based on a lot of the documentation that I've seen and conversations that I've had, I think it's very likely that that will be the case. Let's go Muddin. I like that. He says, hey brother, just joined Carbon One. Did rates put us in 4 digits by end of year? Well, there are a few people that are smarter than me that I've talked to here in the past week that seem to think that the reverse carry trade is slowly unwinding, that people are exiting positions, that there are whispers of people pulling out of positions and paying back their loans quietly right now to the Bank of Japan because they anticipate a much larger move to the downside in the very near future. We've got gold back at $3,800 right now. All-time high for gold. I do think that you could see a $4,000 gold. I still think we're going to pull back to somewhere around 2,000 or 2,100, which was the all-time high previously. And I think it will be a nasty candle to the downside when that happens. And then it'll move on, to the next phase. Again, you're not going to hear that from other people. Everybody else is telling you gold to $10,000. Da, 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 da. I'm the contrarian on that one, and I'm okay with that. I like being the contrarian. Otherwise, I wouldn't be an XRP. Camp Freedom says, how long does it take Ripple to onboard their solution to a new customer? Please and thanks. There's a lot that goes into that, and it could vary wildly depending on the technical integration, the regulatory compliance, and what region it's in, their previous infrastructure, and who they worked with or what they used. There's just a lot of different constraints there that can cause that process to go anywhere from, a quarter, maybe even a little bit less than that, all the way up to maybe a year-long integration. And it also depends on how much of Ripple's suite of products they want to integrate. It's not going to be, if they're just doing RippleNet, or if they're going to use ODL, are they going to use Ripple Custody, which is Medico? Are they going to integrate with their prime broker, Hidden Road? Are they going to use Rail, which is their stable coin, minter at this point? Are they going to use RLUSD? There's a lot of different suites. The suite of products that Ripple owns and operates and sells is much more than just, RippleNet or XRapid today. It's much broader now that they've made these acquisitions, and that's why you're seeing Ripple share price, trade at significantly higher valuations in the secondary market. They're currently, in the middle of a tender offer. They're buying back $1 billion worth of their shares at $250 a share. People that do hold equity on their cap table can sell up to 6% of their shares. Most of the other tender offers that they've gone through have been about 3.5%. Before they're kind of out of money as they allocate them across all the people that want to participate, because there are a lot of people that have been holding Ripple shares for a long time. Brad just got married yesterday. Congrats to him and his new bride. Excited for them. I'm sure they're on their honeymoon and enjoying themselves. So shout out to Mr. Garlinghouse. Well deserved, sir. I hope you enjoy your time away with your lovely new wife. And you're ready to get back to work come Monday next week. John Schultz, he says, Jake, I'm about to start custody with you. How easy is it to continue acquiring XRP? What do I have to do to make sure custody is up to date? Pretty simple. When you move assets over, you're going to get an email from Securitize. They're going to send you, a test transaction. You'll send a small portion over, verify that it landed, check with our team. You'll see it in your Securitize dashboard, and then you would then just send over the rest of it there into Anchorage. I will say this: I will never ask you for your XRP. If there's anybody online impersonating me, it's not me. I'm never going to message you. I'm never going to ask you for your XRP. I'm never going to tell you Flare airdrop or Web3 official wallet or any of this other crazy crap that's going on out there. We communicate through emails only, never through any social media, WhatsApp or Telegram channels. We're an SEC registered RIA, so we get audited, and you have to have a way to show all of the communications between you and your clients, and that's why we do it over email. We don't involve any of these other channels. So you're going to talk to one of the wealth advisors at Digital Wealth Partners. I don't work there. We own the company. I'm on the board, but I do not work there on the day-to-day. So I am never going to tell you to send your XRP anywhere. I'm just going to tell you about some of the cool stuff they're doing. And if you want to work with us, we would love to have that happen. So anyway, once you've moved your assets over, if you wanted to acquire more, you could just wire over money. They don't have ACH yet. They're at Anchorage. Them being a bank and not having ACH is very unique. But again, work with crypto. So what do they need ACH for? You just send your crypto over, or USDT or whatever it is. So you just send more money over, and then we can execute trades for you. It's 20 basis points across the board with no spread. The cheapest out there of anything that I'm aware of for pretty much any value. Anybody else, to get to 20 basis points, you're going to have to be trading at least, $500,000 before they're going to lower it down to, 20 basis points. I have seen people do as low as 20 basis points for $250,000, but it's kind of a rare deal. Most of the time, it has to be higher value transactions. We'll do it for $1,000. We don't care. Still 20 basis points when you work with Digital Wealth Partners. So yeah, just wire money over there, wire funds over there, send us USDC, and then we can execute that trade for you and make sure it's right there inside institutional custody. We got Charles. He says, after price appreciation, do you see XRP going back to triple or even double digits? What would cause this? I don't. So there could be a circumstance where it overshoots whatever price it needs to get to. They start using it for whatever, settlement they need to, and that's the new floor. And so it might fall back a little bit, but it's going to catch that floor and then not go any lower than that. My personal opinion is they need at least $100 XRP to start using it in the way that they want to in order to be able to settle transactions at scale. And so that's why you need the supply shock, like I've talked about, to be able to push it to those prices. That's the only way it's getting there. Retail is not going to drive it there. It's got to be institutional demand for the asset with supply very constricted, which we're already starting to see be orchestrated. Coinbase has less than like 30 million XRP available, where it's had billions for pretty much the entire time that they've been around. They're now less than 30 million XRP on the platform. Uphold, the majority of the XRP there is held by clients. I don't know how much is actually available for trade. And same thing with the other exchanges at this point. There's a total of about 15 billion XRP in exchange wallets. How much of that is held by their balance sheet, the exchange itself, how much is held by clients, and how much is actually available for trade, you're not going to know. You'd have to look at the internal ledger for each one of these exchanges to be able to determine that. I know people can go look at the public wallet addresses and see that there's 15 billion there, but that doesn't mean that all 15 billion are actually available for trade. Most of that is, again, either held by the exchange themselves on their balance sheet or for clients' accounts. And I think it's somewhere around 2 billion to 3 billion XRP that's available for trade at this point. Which again, that's $10 billion. Like, let's call it the high side, $10 billion. Institutional demand is way more than $10 billion, which sounds like a lot of money, but when you're BlackRock and you manage 10 trillion, it's a drop in the bucket. We got Dennis7, 7 Dennis 123 says DTCC has said that Project Ion was live since 2022, May 2025. Patents from XRP and XLM seem like that's the way. Yes, that is the way. That's the way I think it's going to go. We've got Javelin Blue. They say, you've been good, Jake. You're going to millions. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. And I want to say, look, there were so many people at the event last Friday. We had like 300 plus people from the Mastermind show up to the event here in Dallas, which was just surreal for me. The location that we, did that event was the same location that we did the first one. We might have had like 20 or 25 people at the first Mastermind meetup back in, it was March of 2023. So to see that, 2.5 years later be more than 10 times that amount of people, it took up the whole venue. Just again, blown away and super humbled that people are excited about what we're doing and they want to be part of the Mastermind and everything that we're doing there. I don't have the code at the top of this deal like I normally do. But if you want to check out the Mastermind, all you got to do is put in the code Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, get you the first month for $2 there in the Mastermind, whether that's in social or Carbon One. We get a full Discord channel. There's tons and tons and tons of free content. Well, it's $2 for the content over there, and then $25 a month for social or $100 for Carbon One moving forward. We do private deals there in the community. Lots and lots of things that you get access to. We're actually about to have a way that'll go live on the 1st of October that protects people's assets. So if you get phished and you are part of the community, we have a surveillance team that makes sure that they're watching everything. They will be able to freeze assets and get them back to you if you send them to the wrong place by mistake, or somebody takes them from you, or you get hacked. We will have, it's not quite insurance, but it is a way to be able to recover assets if they are taken from you or lost. So super excited about that. For everybody that's carbon 1 or higher, that's completely included. You don't have to worry about it. You know exactly who to reach out to when something like that occurs, and they will immediately be able to lock your assets. If they are on an exchange, you get those back to you. So super excited about that product. We have insurance. We have a ton of stuff there in the community. So if that sounds cool to you, if you want those perks and benefits, we would love to have you there in the mastermind. And again, the code to join for $2 the first month is just Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you that $2 for the first month. We got Christina. She says, how much do you think XRP would be 10 to 15 years from now? I'm the wife of one of those clients, and I got to say hi to you on video. Meeting you at the time, I didn't know you're a legend. I don't think. Look, I think I told the story there at the Mastermind meetup why people call me that. There was a lady that worked for Ripple that told me, you're a legend at Ripple, which is again wild to me to even think that that's part of the conversation over there. Caught me really off guard when she said it too. I'd never met her before. Anyway, for the 10 to 15 year price prediction, I really do believe that $1 million XRP is completely possible. I know that sounds completely absurd. I would challenge that and say, one, we watched Bitcoin go from pennies to $100,000 in 15 years. At that point, XRP would be, or it's 13 years old this year, so it would be somewhere between 23 and 28 years old at that point. You definitely have full-scale adoption of it. You probably got people living on Mars at that point. You probably got metaverses and a bunch of other crazy stuff that doesn't exist today. So multiple other economies that are having to interact and have value within them that's going to be exchanged between those. And you need a system to be able to do it. And the only interplanetary currency that I'm aware of that actually could facilitate that would be, you guessed it, XRP. And don't take my word for it. Go look up Greg Kidd. He's like the 4th employee at Ripple, and he talks about an intergalactic currency, which he believes is XRP. And Greg Kidd's a billionaire. He's not a chump. He's invested in most of the prolific startups that like, and love, including Uber and Twitter and Facebook and many others. So if he's going to say it, I'm not going to question him a whole lot. He's a lot more successful than I am. But I do think, that time frame, it's easily justifiable that XRP would be $1 million a piece. And the other thing I would say is humans, and myself included, tend to underestimate what you can do in 10 years and significantly overestimate what you can do in a year. I can tell you from experience, we're just now crossing thresholds on stuff that I've had in my mind for 5 years. That I thought was, doable within 2 years, and it's been 5 in order to get it done. But I will say this too: the faster and faster things move, the larger and larger the snowball gets, because it's got momentum behind it. The faster and faster things move. So it's weird how that happens when when you're consistent for an extended period of time. Things tend to go your way. XRP up in October. I would love to think so. We've got the growth fund and all this other stuff positioned to take advantage of it if it is. The Vlades family says, you offer anything to people with less than 5,000 XRP. Just trying to set myself up before any more price appreciation. Already have an LLC as well. That's great, my man. I don't necessarily need the LLC, if you have less than 50 to 80,000 in your portfolio, and I don't say that to poo-poo on anybody or belittle anyone. I just think your money's better spent investing in crypto versus the LLC. I mean, $2,000 is kind of steep for $15,000 investment. But again, nothing wrong with that. We would set up an LLC for anybody to be able to protect the digital assets from creditors and get the anonymity and all the other stuff that goes along with it. But I would say, most of the time we do see people with a little bit more in value before they set those things up. We are working on it, on the rest of it. We had a conversation last week on Friday on a way that we can offer our services to everyone. I want to democratize access to what we have and be able to help the little guy. That's why we have the Mastermind. That's why we do a lot of the stuff the way that we do. We do work with family offices. We work with a lot of high net worth individuals. But at the same time, I do believe that this asset's going to explode in value. And we do want to be able to help basically anybody and everybody that has a significant allocation, whatever that is to them. My barber, as an example, he bought $500 worth of XRP when it was 30 cents a year and a half ago. He's got 1,500 XRP. And I think that he'll be able to retire on that. He was already in his early 40s when he bought that. He was just married. They just had a kid. He used to date Miranda Lambert, which is wild. But anyway, just stuff like that. If you got a little bit's going to go a long way, especially if you are able to hang on to it. That's, again, just my personal opinion, not financial advice, all of the other disclaimers and stuff I mentioned at the beginning. Glenn, he said, thank you for your tremendous insight. What's the interest rate on your XRP loans, max LTV? Secondly, what is the average annual yield when your client stakes their XRP with your organization? So two things. We'll address the loans first, and then the other part where we actually don't do staking. So first off, we have multiple partners who are willing to lend against XRP at this point. Interest rates vary anywhere from 10 to 15%. LTVs vary anywhere from 40 to 60%, depending on the amount of XRP that you're willing to put up. Our main partner does 45% LTV, and about 13.5% is what they charge. It is an annual loan. It's a 12-month loan. It's interest only with a balloon payment at the end, and you can roll it so you don't have to repay the loans. And then secondly, the average annual yield, we're targeting somewhere between the products that we have today, somewhere between 10 and 15% is what we're targeting. Will we hit that? We will see. The income fund, I think we're at around 4% on the year, and there'll be another payout here in October for the people participating in that. And then I think we're a little bit less than that on the growth fund, but both in the green at this point, which is awesome. You do have to be accredited in order to participate in those. And yield is the wrong word. I've been informed by my compliance officer. The word we have to use is returns because it's not a structured set amount that you're going to get. Oh, thank you, my wonderful wife with the tea. Hey, all right. So the yield product that we're coming out with, I'm expecting to be somewhere between 3 and 4%. And that would be, 1% a quarter effectively that we would be paying people. And when you stake your XRP, it's not an on-chain thing that we do. So you can't really call it staking. We have a hedge fund. You put the XRP up as a collateral or a capital asset. We do it in a way where you don't have any tax implications because of how we structured it, which is pretty cool. And we're able to, use it, reflect that value while it stays in institutional custody, mitigate all counterparty risk of loss, and be able to generate cash returns or in-kind returns for our clients. The yield product will work very similar. Your assets will stay there in institutional custody. It'll get reflected with the counterparty that I think you guys will like. And, they'll put it to work in overnight repo and be able to pay those returns back to our clients. And again, Q4 kind of launch for that, and that'll be available for anybody. You won't have to be accredited. As long as you're a client, you'll have access to that yield product. And over time, I do think that the interest rates that people are willing to underwrite the loans for will come down substantially. We got Six Shooter. Thank you for the super chat. He says, "Hey, legend, I'm set up in the Mastermind, Old Glory Bank. I'm a late bloomer that needs about $320 per token to get that FU status of 10 million. When can I turn my notice in?" Laugh out loud. Love all you do. Hoping by the end of the year, Six Shooter. We'll see if that happens or not. Again, I got a public bet out that XRP will be $750 by the end of the year. And I'm constantly reminded that I am crazy. And that, nobody else thinks that's going to happen. I'm okay with that. The whole premise behind that bet was to make sure that people were taken care of and got their XRP back that the individual had taken from them that I made the bet with. So one way or the other, I've been very blessed in my life. I've got enough XRP that I can make that wager of 4,500 XRP with this other individual, and that's okay. If I lose it, lose it. But at least I know those people are going to be made whole. Not everybody has a bunch of XRP to bet with or lose. So I want to make sure that those people get their assets back. But I also wouldn't make the bet unless I was confident. So we will have to see what ends up shaking out, but maybe by the end of the year, my man. T. Collins, thank you, brother, for the super chat. He says, "El hombre legendario." Appreciate that. He says, "What's your thought on the escalating global conflicts impacting the reverse carry trade timeline? You got this versus France and Russia versus NATO. Been enjoying the Mastermind. Thank you for letting us join the ranks without costing an arm and a leg. And you guys aren't plebes. I want to say this for a second. And I got to remind myself of this pretty frequently too. What you say about yourself is what is implanted in your subconscious and what you actually think. And it manifests your reality. And I know that sounds like some heebie-deezy, crazy stuff, but there's a reason when you write words, it's called spelling, because you are, quote unquote, casting spells. So things that you write down, things that you invoke with I am, things that you say out loud matter. So be kind to yourself, speak highly of yourself. And I know it sounds crazy, but it will make an impact on your reality. I can tell you from experience, it absolutely works. So yeah, absolutely love. And everybody in the Mastermind is fantastic. We have over 7,500 members there, which is just, again, mind blowing to me. The culture in the community is exactly what I was hoping for when we first started this. Everybody is there to help other people, lift other people up, enjoy, the fruits of our labors. They have an aligned mission. We understand, we're trying to improve and do better, and set ourselves up for success in our family, so that they can be taken care of, and we're building a legacy for them, right? Now, everybody has different focuses, but that is the general gist of the majority of the people there. So if that sounds cool to you, again, we would love to have you there in the community. All you have to do is go to beyondbroke.com and sign up. It's $2 for the first month if you use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free or $2 for your first month. We've got New York Sports Manic, crazy about sports, holding over 15,000 XRP since 2017 in Florida. Don't come from a lot of money, father of 4, single salary. You're crushing it, dude. I'm sure your kids, I don't think that they really understand all the sacrifices that you've made for them. But you're going to set them up for a lot of success, holding that amount. So kudos to you. And you should be very proud of what you're doing. They said, after a decade, don't have expectations. Yeah, so just a decade ago, but don't want to fumble this. Who can I talk to regarding options? you can talk to one of our wealth advisors, and they can kind of walk you through some stuff. You know, and again, it kills me to say that our minimums are so high for a lot of people. But as this does appreciate, I think you will absolutely qualify to be one of our clients. That's why I built it the way that I did. And so you reach out to Digital Wealth Partners. Just go to digitalwealthpartners.net. That's digitalwealthpartners.net. If you do need financial advice, if you want, a consultation, they would love to meet with you and chat. You can email our support team over there, and they'll answer some questions for you if you don't have the money to pay for a consult. I think it's $300 to schedule a time if you're not a client, but they will provide you financial advice, and they can literally legally do that for you. So that might be a good step. Or if you just have other questions around estate planning, mitigating taxes, and doing things the right way there, you can email info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and they'll help you out on that one also. All right, we got OMG Tracer. They say, legend. Any thoughts on Stronghold? I actually have a whole video on Stronghold if you want to go watch it. Have price targets and everything for it. Lawson Massey says, do you know something we don't? Seem very confident. I don't want to say yes, but I'll explain it this way. I have been very blessed and privileged to be in positions to have conversations with people. I feel like an Indian on the campground, and the shamans come out of the teepee and they tell me things. And none of them outright say this or that. Okay. So I just want to be explicit about that. It's just through the amalgamation of conversations that I've had with Visa, MasterCard, R3, Ripple, Bank of America, Fidelity, Galaxy, Standard Custody, like all of them, BNY Mellon, that I've come to a lot of the conclusions that I've come to. But none of them have explicitly said this, and this is going to happen. People drop little nuggets here and there. And there's also some things where it's kind of like read between the lines. I'll give you one that might be an example. Met with an institution this morning. Won't say their name because I have NDAs. They have some things that are going to happen, late Q4, early Q1. Were not explicitly related to certain things. But you could infer that them rolling it out in the time frame that they are and being so aggressive with it just makes you go, wonder why you're rolling it out right then. Why wouldn't you have done it before? Or why wouldn't you be doing it after? Right? So it's just little things like that where people don't necessarily have to say explicitly something. I'm able to infer some stuff. And sometimes assumptions make an ass out of you and me. But you gotta swing a little bit. It's not going to be handed to you on stuff, and you have to think critically in certain things. And again, it's an amalgamation of different conversations that I have that lead me to the conclusions that I have drawn. And apparently some of them are pretty good just based on some of the nods I've gotten about the domino theory. So Robert, he says, I just purchased a Tangent wallet. What are your thoughts on how to divide up my XRP between the wallets? And what are your general thoughts on Tangent wallet? I like Tangent. I think they have a great product. So I had 12 cold wallets before I moved into institutional custody. It's probably excessive, but I wanted to mitigate risk. And I wouldn't, if you're, Tangent's a little bit more secure, right? Like you have a card, hopefully you have the backup card, make sure you set up the backup card, because if you lose the card, you're going to be in deep doo-doo and not be able to get your assets. So make sure you're doing it the right way. But multiple wallets doesn't hurt people. And I will say this, most people that hold over 100,000 XRP, when I talk to them, have somewhere between 4 and 5 wallets on average. And that could be exchange accounts, including their cold wallets also. Omar says, when price appreciation happens and we flock to you, what's your plan to handle thousands of at the same time? Legend, thanks Jake for all, as always. We are scaling up people now. I've told my wealth manager, the CEO over there, to hire 10 more people as soon as possible. And we are scaling up on the family office side. We just brought on a head of that company. We're adding more support staff. I'm scaling as fast as I can right now to make sure that we are able to meet demand. Zal, 2 questions. How much is it to put your LLC under a trust? At what level of wealth would you need to hire personal security at home and traveling? Good question. To move the LLC inside of a trust, I wouldn't necessarily move all of the LLC inside the trust. I would leave a portion of it out and maybe set up an LLC inside the trust separate. There's the Rockefeller method and some other things that we're going to be working with people on. It's about 25 grand to do it the right way, with a lot of the bells and whistles and stuff that has, the best protections here for an asset protection trust, and a lot of the other stuff that we work on. So, that's probably on the higher end of cost. Now there's people out there that do kind of crazy stuff. I don't get into all of that other stuff. I just deal with like economical, good, proven stuff. So 20 and 25 grand to do it the right way with an asset protection trust. If you just want to move it under a living trust, you really don't even need anything. You just repaper it. What would someone do if they had like 80,000 or so XRP? What could life be like for those people, especially if DWP gets low risk options? It's going to be gangbusters, Sona. People that have 80,000 XRP, if it goes to $1,000, you get $80 million. Excuse me. When it goes to $1,000, you'll have $80 million. Are dollars worth the same thing they are today? I don't know. Maybe they're worth less. Maybe homes are cost more. But I can guarantee you the ROI on XRP will far outpace whatever inflation happens to the dollar. So you will be much wealthier. If you're making 5% on $80 million, that's $4 million a year. It's pretty nice. Be doing pretty good. I think people will be doing very well. And our mandate's 8%. If we don't make at least 8%, we don't get any performance fees. So ideally, what I would like to do for people is somewhere between 12 and 13%. I think that's a very reasonable return where it's mitigating risk. You're still growing against inflation. Even with the appreciation on the assets, you're going to far outpace inflation. And then the additional returns on top of that for the cash flow will be even better. But at that point, we get to participate a little bit. We would get around 1% of the returns. If we're making you 13%, we get about 1% of the 13. So you end up with like 12. I think that's a really good ratio at that point. So that's what I've tasked my team with, and that's what we're working on to be able to accomplish when we're managing hundreds of billions of dollars in the near future. That's no small order. So we are actively working on everything to figure that out now to make sure that we can absolutely execute on that. This person's asked about 2026. I think at the end of 2026, early 2027 is when you could see, a $10,000 XRP. But again, that's going to be predicated on derivatives coming online. When will the Orlando office open? We're not going to do one in Orlando. We'll probably do South Beach if we do it in Florida. And 26 is kind of the time frame for that. I don't know when in 26. We're going to open some other office locations across the U.S. This person's asked about California. California's on the roadmap. No, probably not Ohio. Sorry. Both coasts will probably have New York. Florida, California, probably one in Wyoming, and then the one here in Texas is what we're looking at. No question, new subscriber, appreciates the work. Guys like you make it easy for guys like me to get this stuff. God bless you. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. We got Lions 6060s. I'm predicting the Treasury placing U.S. gold reserves on the XRPL and Trump revaluing gold from the present book value, $42 to 20 to 30K. What do you say? I would agree with you on the first part and challenge you on the second part for the valuation of gold. I don't think they need anywhere near that much gold in order to get to the levels of backing that they need if they include XRP as a tier one asset along with oil. I think that both of those will sit as backing for currencies and other sovereign wealth. We've got Hugo talking about an XRP stablecoin. You could absolutely do that if you leverage futures and there was enough liquidity in the CME to be able to do it. So I do think that that will be a possibility at some point in the future. I don't know how long that will take. Could be another 2 or 3 years. But I do think that XRP will be a tier one asset, and I don't think they're going to have to revalue gold any higher than about $10,000 an ounce is kind of my guess. Love to be wrong. I would love people to make way more money than that. Crypto M says, actually, we already did this one. We've been there. We did that one. We got Michael Cofield. He says, hey, legend, I have an S in Georgia looking to create an LLC through you guys to mitigate taxes and starting a foundation. Which office is best to contact, DAG or DWP? And what's the best way to contact them? Thanks in advance. Good questions. So I know a lot of people are confused about the structure that we have. So at the top, we have a holding company, which I won't tell you the name of, that owns Digital Family Office. Underneath that, which is the DBA of Digital Ascension Group. And then underneath the family office, we have Digital Wealth Partners. If you have anything to do with mitigating taxes, estate planning, tax attorneys, all of that stuff, it's going to be anything on the legal side is going to be Digital Family Office. So you just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and click the contact us form there, or you can email info@digitalfamilyoffice would be the way that you would go about that. If you need anything on the wealth management side, if you're looking for institutional custody, be able to borrow against your assets, earn returns on your XRP, looking for advisory, to actually give you advice on your investments. Or if you have traditional investments and you want to move them over and manage all of that under one roof, Digital Wealth Partners is the go-to place for all of that. Scrolling on down here. The other person asked, at what point of wealth do you want to get private security? That all depends. I am a bit more public facing than most people. I'm also close to 6 foot, 240, but that doesn't mean you couldn't shoot me, In the near future, I'm probably going to add some security to myself and my family. We already have some measures in place at this point. We also have castle law here in Texas. So if you want to come on over and see what's going on, I can show you. But not every state's like that. So also you may not want to handle a firearm. I don't know. I guess it depends on how paranoid you are. I'll give you an example. Or you can use it as a flex too. I think Charles Hoskinson is both. So every time I've ever seen Charles, he has at least 5 security people with him. Salt was, he had that there. We were at Rare Evo in 24. He had 5 people with him there. People just travel around. But Charles is also a billionaire. So he really don't care. He would rather be overprotected, which I completely understand. And I don't know what he did to people to think he needs that much security also, which is a little bit concerning. Mainly, women and children. If your wife's out shopping and somebody else was carrying a bag for her, walking around shopping with her, They might assume that's her husband, but it may be a bodyguard that you've sent out with her to be able to make sure that she's protected. Same thing with your kids. If they're going to be picked up from school, um, high 8 digits, low 9 digits is where you start to see people be able to afford regular security for their family. And it is something that we have access to. We have multiple teams that we work with, previous Navy SEALs and other government agencies that these people have worked for, and now they are trained and do private security. So happy to make introductions as that fits into people's wheelhouse, what they need. We got Jay, the crypto man, says Paul Adkins and Morning Maria at 7:30 Eastern tomorrow. What can be announcement? I don't know. That sounds like a good one though. Kurt, how are you, sir? He's got 9:30 as the super chat. Looking forward to the end of September. Then we head into October. Thanks for all that you do. People don't value what you say till others deem you valuable. Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see, how people are after you die. People didn't like Van Gogh's paintings while he was alive, and then now they sell for millions of dollars. Same thing with many other artists. So most people are misunderstood during their lifetimes, and then valued later, which is really interesting. Nikola Tesla was another one of those. Murphy McManus, I like the last name. They say with Ripple getting their banking license, would they hold the rest of XRP themselves? Could they then manipulate the price of XRP? They already manipulate the price of XRP, my man. I don't really make any bones about that. That's kind of like other people, they want to poo-poo on XRP for being manipulated. It absolutely is manipulated. Ripple has a treasury of XRP. They get $1 billion out of the escrow every single month, and they do sell it onto the market. That's how they fund their business. But it's in the betterment of XRP. If they're successful, XRP will be successful. It's not a security of Ripple, but it is for the betterment of the network, right? And if they get the adoption and integration with all the banks, and they're going to be able to leverage it and use it, it's going to get the price appreciation, and that helps them too, because they do hold a huge amount on their balance sheet. Now, it's funny that BNY Mellon's, who's holding ROUSD and Ripple's stuff, even though they have standard custody, which is has the bit license there in New York and other stuff. BNY Mellon is stay. So if they were to go bankrupt, another trust bank would step in immediately, and people would be able to offboard their assets within 24 or 48 hours. Whereas bankruptcy remote, which is what we have with standard custody, you will get your assets back, but you do have to go through the bankruptcy proceedings. It does take a little longer, but that's the best of what we got. We'll see if BNY Mellon steps in the game anytime soon. We got Joe. He says, can you briefly give a quick step-by-step process of getting an LLC through Digital Century Group? What is Laughlin's role versus DAG? Thank you. It's good questions. So we help people establish a holding company in Wyoming that manages alternative investments with a specialization in digital assets. We do not set up trading companies. Very, very different. The NAICS code that we establish for you is 551112 or 551114. Both of these reflect a holding company that is managing alternative investments or other investments, not your investments, investments of the company. Okay, so when you're setting up a bank account, it's very important that you state that it is a company managing investments of the company, not your investments, because they will not allow you to do it if you state the other thing. So you go to the website, fill out the form, pay the $2,000. If you put in the code 50 off 50 OFF DAG LLC. That's 50 off DAG LLC. They get you everything end to end for $2,000. So the EIN, articles of organization, certificate of good standing, the operating agreement, which is specifically drafted this way, is going to get you, you know, if you went to another attorney to get that done, it'd be somewhere between $1,800 and $2,500 every single time. Nobody's going to do it for any cheaper than that. And then you're still going to have to file the entity with the EIN number, the state, and everything else. You're still going to have to get a registered agent, virtual office. There's a bunch of other stuff that's involved there. And then we do the corporate veil service also. It's completely included for the first year. So that's your board resolutions, your meeting minutes, and that's all the stuff that Laughlin does. Laughlin will call you. You will set up a time with them. They'll help you issue the equity of the LLC, appoint board members, do board resolutions and meeting minutes, so that if you were to get sued, your corporate veil is maintained. And if somebody sues you, the worst thing they can do is just put a lien against the corporation. They can't pierce the corporate veil and liquidate your assets or come after them. And you know, if somebody comes after you, they won't be able to get to the assets inside the company. It provides really good, strong creditor protection there in Wyoming. So that's why we structure it there. And again, the code for that, if you are interested for everything end to end on the best way to set up an LLC for your digital assets, is 50 off 50 OFF DAG, like Digital Ascension Group LLC. And that is on digitalfamilyoffice.io is the website. Mr. Affiliated says, legend. What's up, man? Once Clarity Act passes and exchanges become banks, I don't know if that's going to happen. Will non-accredited investors still be able to access native XRP on the XRPL, or only wrapped mirrored versions via regulated KYC tokens? I actually just made a video about this that will go out at some point in the future. I don't know when it will go out, but I think structured products are the way that the banks and everybody else has really intended this whole space to go. Cheryl, you want to capitalize everything there on the code, otherwise it won't work. So just so people know on that, and appreciate you guys. Looking forward to help you set up your LLC for your digital assets. So back to the question here. I don't think exchanges will become banks. They won't. They probably will have to apply for a broker-dealer license in order to continue their business. I think when Tether collapses, you're going to see them get rolled up. All of these institutions are going to step in and just buy these exchanges. And I think they're actually probably just going to strip the assets out of them and set up structured products, because they are APs and can participate in kind in these ETFs. And I think that that's been the plan the whole time, is using Tether to tear out all of the crap that people have set up in crypto, and tear down everything except for what's actually going to be used, and allow the institutions to acquire these exchanges on the cheap while they're illiquid. Now, when it comes to wrapped or mirrored versions, you're not going to be able to do any of that unless you actually have the XRP. And that's why the institutions are going to win out. And the retail people that are holding XRP right now, you're going to win out too by default, as long as you're able to hold on to your XRP. So again, I would highly recommend getting your XRP off of exchanges, because if you are a creditor of the exchange, I just want you guys to understand this. It doesn't matter if it's Uphold or Kraken or Crypto.com or Coinbase. All of those I like. Coinbase is probably the least out of those, but I like all the other ones. If there's a situation where they need that XRP, they will take it from you. Okay? So get your XRP off of exchanges. If it's not in your cold wallet, if it's not an institutional custody with us and an FBO account in your name, you do not own it. It is not yours. I don't know how to harp on that. I'll get off my soapbox, but I'm just telling you, in a situation where Tether goes illiquid and these exchanges go down and they need liquidity and they need that XRP, they can absolutely take it from you. Not saying they will or won't. I don't know. I really like some of these exchanges. I'm hoping they wouldn't do that, but they can. And then when it comes to wrapped or mirrored versions, there's going to be a lot of DeFi products that get rolled out for this stuff. Again, once we have liquidity pools and you have pseudo accounts and you have borrow lend, native on chain, they just rolled out the multi-purpose token. That is for the tokenization of stocks on the XRPL. We have 8 days until that passes. Possibility that they need that in place before the reverse carry trade unwinds. We'll see. But they also need permission DEX and permission domains. Those aren't even close to passing yet. So maybe it will be mid-October when things finally kick off here. We got TJ. Oh no. It kicked me up in the chat here. All right, let me see if I can get back to it. I hate when I miss super chats for people, and I apologize. Okay, here he is. He says, XRP will hit over $100. Will you guys take clients with 10,000 XRP? We sure will. If you're in the mastermind, we sure will. Do you believe Ripple could gift the escrow to the government? They then dump $35 trillion of debt on it and replace XRP for 1K. Thanks, Ken of Oz. I like where your head's at, Ken. I like your idea that XRP will be able to offset the debt. I think XRP is already on the balance sheet of the U.S. government. I think that, I know that Greg Kidd got Ripple a meeting with the Fed in 2014 when he was the 4th employee. And he used to work at the Fed. Intergalactic currency, Greg Kidd. Same one. Things that make you go, So if it's already on the balance sheet and all they have to do is, supply and demand shock to push the price there, you don't think they're going to orchestrate that with one of their, good friends, BlackRock? I know I sound like a tinfoil hat person when I say stuff like that. You can go out there and look for yourself. Okay, there's plenty of tea leaves to read that show that is going to be the case. Blue, looking great on you this week. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. I think it brings out my eyes. Hope you're blessed. I am. I'm blessed and grateful. What would you plan to do other than acquire more XRP if you had 7 to 10,000 XRP in your wallet? Buy the hashtag buy the dip. This is Colby Clayton. What would you plan to do other than acquire more XRP if you held 5 to 10,000 XRP in your wallet? Man, I told my wife this. I have an amount of XRP that I have to hold, and I feel naked or broken or off if I don't have that much XRP. And it's a bit more than 7 to 10,000 XRP. So I would be scrambling and doing everything that I could to figure out how to get back to that number. Maybe your number is 10,000 XRP. And you're kosher with that, right? And really don't overextend yourself. Don't put yourself in a bad position. Don't mortgage your house. Don't do anything crazy to buy XRP. It should just be money you're willing to lose that you can invest and let sit there and not even think about. I was talking to my team today. There's a lot of wealth managers out there that they manage a hedge fund. They make a lot of money. And do you know what they do with that money? A portion of it goes back into the fund. They'll manage some of their own money, but do you know what they do with the rest of it? They buy the S&P. They park it someplace they don't have to think about it. And that's what XRP is for me. Could I actively manage a portfolio and trade a bunch of cryptos and probably do pretty good? Sure. I don't want to spend time thinking about any of that. I just want to take it, buy this, know that it's going to go up, and not think about it. And so that's what I do. Michael Evans says, hey, Jake, I'm in Australia. We've spoken to Tim from your team so far. Do Australians have the same benefits as the U.S. with an LLC in Wyoming. So Australia is a residency tax jurisdiction. So if you live in Australia for more than 183 days, they're going to tax you there. If you live abroad for more than that, then you don't get taxed in Australia. You're going to be taxed in another jurisdiction. So depending on where you want to live, post price appreciation would determine whether you want to set things up here in the U.S. I would not tie yourself to the U.S. if you don't have to, or if you're not going to move here. I would highly recommend looking at other jurisdictions like Dubai or Singapore or the British Virgin Islands or someplace other than the US. And I would talk to Consensus Layer or Tax Onchain. They're in Australia. Both of those are good estate planning people and tax people. And if you need those contacts, all you got to do is email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we're happy to connect you with the people over there in Australia that can help answer that question for you. But I would not make a rash decision and set up an LLC here unless you do plan to move to the U.S. post price appreciation. Chris, he says, legend. Would you advise my friend continue stacking even with 200,000 XRP and 200,000 HBAR? My friend wants to know, when is enough enough? He wants to go party at Monaco and Formula One. Well, you're going to be a little short on that one. It would be great if everything kind of rolled here at the end of the month and you could fly off to Singapore and enjoy Formula One there. I think they're racing the 2nd and 3rd of October, or maybe it's the 1st. I don't remember which one it is, but it's Friday here at the 1st of the month there in Singapore. Monaco sounds beautiful. We will definitely be doing a mastermind event on a yacht in Monaco post price appreciation. That is on the bucket list for me. And so we will definitely be doing that. When is enough enough? Look, everybody has a number. Okay. Well, I say that. Most people have a number. I am broken. My number is more. Because I enjoy the journey and the climb more than the destination. And anytime I have reached a pinnacle in my life, I celebrate for about 2 seconds and then I look at the next mountain. And so I'm messed up in that capacity. I'm probably not a good person to ask on this one. I would work backward. This is kind of what I talk about. If you need $1 billion, figure out what that price point is. If you need $100 million, figure out what that price point is. If you need $50 million, $20 million, $10 million, whatever it is that is going to realize your dream for you and your family. I would encourage you to think bigger than you think, though. Every time I have hit a number or something, I'm like, all right, well, what would it take to do 10x that amount? And not everybody's built for that. I just want to say that also. That can be very disheartening and very disappointing for somebody that's not willing to put in the additional effort. It's hard to want things and not want what goes along with that. The other person talked about security. I just know that that's part of what my reality is going to look like. I also know that I'm probably going to get sued and pursued by people. I'm going to be slandered. There's going to be libel against me. There's going to be, the more successful you become, the more people throw stones, shoot arrows, all those things. I'm willing to take that on. Some people aren't. Some people don't want to deal with all of that. If you want to operate in the background and enjoy your life and make a difference for your community, leave your legacy in whatever way you want to leave it, you can be very anonymous and do all those things. To accomplish what I want to accomplish in my life, I have to be out here. I have to be in front of people. I have to be doing this. So 200K XRP and 200K HBAR may very well be plenty for you and what you want to accomplish. Um, and it probably would be for most people, like 99% of people. That would be you're crushing it, dude. You're doing awesome. Or your friend. Sorry, you said your friend. Um, you're doing great. But yeah, it all depends on how big you dream and what your goals are and what you want to accomplish. And based on what those numbers are, I would work back from there and figure out, what you could do to get there. And I also don't know how old you are. You might be closer to retirement. You might be younger. You might have more time or less time. All of that would depend also. We are about 20 minutes from shutting it down tonight. And we will try to get through all the rest of the super chats if we can. I know there's a thing on YouTube here to be able to do the super chats. So, I don't know. Can't find it. We will find it another time. Glad you're back. Justin Kincaid. How are you, sir? He says, plan a mastermind meetup in Georgia. There are so many people from Georgia. We're going to have to do something over there in Florida, is what I'm thinking. We're going to have West Coast here in October. If you guys are part of the mastermind, you've already seen the Luma for that. It's on the 26th there in San Francisco. You know where the venue is and what time it is if you are in the mastermind. So if you're over there on the West Coast in California and you do want to join us for that one, we would love to have you. And then we'll probably do something, over there in Florida later in the year. It's going to be difficult. So the week of November 4th all the way through the 9th, I'm back-to-back travel. We're in New York for Swell on the 4th and 5th. And then we're in Miami for Futurist 5th and 6th. And then we're back here in Dallas for the Laughlin Rockefeller event 7th, 8th, and 9th. But I would like to do something over there in Florida or close to Georgia for all the people that we do have in that region. Little snack nuts says legend. If XRP and Hedera go live with Swift, what's the percentage split? So this is an interesting thing that you would ask. Hedera is for data security and passing data between counterparties, and only allowing certain people to get access to certain information for whatever time frame they need it. Whereas XRP is for settlement. And Chainlink is the oracle that allows to, real-time price feeds and other stuff to move into the smart contracts between these counterparties and settlement. So you need all three of those to facilitate Swift at scale. It's not like any one of those in particular wins out over the other ones. I know a lot of people want one chain to rule them all, but each of them have their own pieces that work to be able to secure a network or settle value or provide, price data or whatever, they do. So I don't think it's a percentage split. I think they all benefit, but I do think that XRP ends up with all of the settlement of Swift. This person says, from 0 to 100%, how confident are you XRP will go to $5 by the end of the year? With everything that is going to happen in the upcoming months, can't the price still be suppressed? I keep telling people, but they won't listen. I'm going to go ahead and say 100 on that one. 100% that XRP is over $5 by the end of the year. Go ahead and grab. We already did that one. I think I actually got through all the super chats here. So I'm going to take a couple over here on TikTok, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. This person says, I'm really new and late to the party. I have 2K XRP, mostly around $3 each. Should I keep buying more? That's up to you, Chad. Can't give you financial advice. I gave my disclaimer a couple times tonight. I don't own anything but XRP, but I'm just some dude on the internet, right? We do manage, close to $1 billion in XRP at this point. We're the only multifamily office in the world that provides all the solutions that we do. We're also the only registered investment advisor globally that manages digital assets directly, like we do. Um, have almost 1,700 clients at this point. Um, we have close to $300 million in a hedge fund that produces returns for people on their XRP. Um, and I built all of this on the idea that I think XRP is going to go to extremely high prices. But you do you. Again, just giving you context about who I am and what we do, and hopefully you're able to discern what's best for you. Off of that, you might say this guy's crazy. No thanks. Um, just in case he says, "Wake up, Uncle Danny." I didn't get the super chat tonight, but that's awesome. This person says, "Big fan from Dubai, man. Why are you so confident XRP will reach $750?" You have a culmination of all of these things transpiring at the same time here at the end of 2025 that just really equate to the perfect storm for it to happen. Um, you've got ETFs going live, which is causing a supply shock. I think Tether's going to have problems, and exchanges are going to be illiquid and need XRP, and that's the solution there. You've got DATs being launched. You've got other counterparties and retail that would all dive into XRP at the same time if they saw it move substantially higher. And the reverse carry trade, the only way to solve that when it unwinds is to settle the back end of the stock market real time. And with oil is what I think is going to be the catalyst that Japan, banks on or blames for them having to raise, interest rates aggressively. The back end of the stock market is going to have to be able to move real-time settlement to de-risk from Bitcoin and the systemic risk that it imposes at this point with the ETFs being traded real time. Bitcoin trades quote unquote real time, really like 30 to 45 minutes to settle. But stocks trade T+1. So in order to de-risk from all those unrealized losses, when all that plays out, they're going to have to move to instant settlement. The only way to do that is to use Project Ion, which was finalized in 2022 between the DTCC and R3. And the only way that that's going to have enough liquidity and be able to settle that through XRP is if they push the price to around 4 digits. So that's why I'm as confident as I am. We got Matt. He says, "Jake, love all your content. In the past, you've mentioned being in the company of very many important financial and political figures. What are some of their price predictions for XRP? Do they agree with any of yours?" Um, Phew. How do I navigate this one? Um, I'll say this. I have mentioned some crazy high prices in front of prominent people, and their visceral reaction tells me more than anything they could say. A lot of the time, they're like, they. It's not a look of surprise. It's not like a gasp. It is like, "Oh, you said it, like but I can't say anything, and now I have to change this pivot." What squirrel, like, they will change the subject very quickly. um so what does that mean to you? Again, I try to read the tea leaves. I can think of one interaction, so I probably shouldn't mention that one. Anyway, I won't. But yeah, there's been some people where I have mentioned specific price points, and it wasn't a look of like, there's never been a look of like, nope, that's not going to happen. It's always been like, uh and then they can't say anything. So um Uncle Tickets, the Danny, thoughts on Coinbase XRP shortage. Do you know of any other places that are running out? If not, why only Coinbase? Oh, excuse me. There are other exchanges that also have significantly lowered their available supply. It's just not as visible as Coinbase and the wallets on chain. But there's very low liquidity on XRP available in comparison to what was just a couple months ago. Michelle Evans. Oh no, she already. I called you Michael earlier, ma'am. I'm so sorry, Michelle. Let's see here. I think. Oh, we got two more. We got Noah, Mr. Bennett. He says, "Legend. Will us common folk be able to purchase R3? Nope. Nope. Sure won't. Not unless they take it public, which they could. There was a rumor that they were looking to get acquired not too long ago. I don't think that's going to happen either, unless BlackRock bought them. We've looked for shares. We've tried to source shares of R3, and I can't find anybody that's willing to sell any. I need to reach out to employees directly, I guess. Hunter says, if you have 10,000 XRP and it goes to 1,500 per, want to buy a ranch for 6 million, what does that look like without selling XRP? Doable. Well, let's do a little math. We got 10,000 times 1,500, so we're looking at 15 million XR, $15 million. You'd borrow against it. Yeah, that's 6 million is doable for sure. You just borrow against the XRP. I don't know why you would buy a ranch though. Ranches lose money. Like you never make any money as a rancher. Doesn't matter how many head of cattle you have. Most people use a ranch to offset income of other stuff, to be able to lower their taxable income and put the money into something that continues to accrue value. So I probably wouldn't do the ranch first. I would put the XRP somewhere where it could make you $6,000 or $6 million, or at least enough to pay the payments on the property. That's probably what I would do. I would borrow. This is just me. I'm not giving you financial advice, okay? So don't come at me, Hunter. I'd borrow against a small portion of the XRP and get like $1 million that I could put down on the property. If you needed 20% down, it'd have to be a little bit more than that. The rest of it, I would put to work earning interest, and I would take that and pay for the mortgage on the ranch, which should still net you enough that you have a pretty decent income, even in excess of what you pay on the payments. I would finance it on a 30-year note at the lowest interest rates that I could get it on. And then I would just continue to keep my XRP working for me, paying me enough to make the payments on the property and pay off the original note that I borrowed against the XRP. And then over probably a 3 or 4 year period, you probably get all your XRP back, and then all of it can be put to work generating interest to pay down that note quicker if you wanted to. That'd be the way I would go about it. I wouldn't, because if you borrow that much against your XRP, you're only going to have, what would that be? Another 9 million to put to work to pay on the note for you. It's just going to take you a lot longer to pay down the note if you do it that way, because the interest rate on borrowing against your XRP is always going to be, well, I say that it's going to be close to the same. So, couple more super chats here, and then we'll wrap it up tonight. We got Wayne. What's up, brother? He says, Axelar and Midas created a yield-bearing MXRP. Is that a big deal or not? I knew about that 3 weeks ago. I didn't say anything. Their head of institutional is a good buddy of mine, and he reached out to me. And I'm like, we're already doing all of that in a regulated way here in the US, my man. we, again, have close to $300 million put to work in our hedge fund, all XRP, generating returns for people. And here's how they're doing the yield bearing XRP also. They're taking your XRP and they're putting it to work earning what we're earning. Very similar, if not the same people, running similar strategies to generate the returns. So somewhere between 10 and 15% a year is likely what they're going to make on that XRP, and they're going to guarantee you, I don't know what they're paying you on Axelar, but it's a lot less than that. And they're making the difference on that. So, on our side of the fence, we're going to pay you the full meal deal. We're not going to guarantee you anything, but you are going to get to participate in all of the upside on your investments with us, versus, other people are going to guarantee you a small amount. That's what they're going to pay you, and then they keep the rest of it for themselves. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do it. I'm just telling you what's going on. Same thing with Doppler Finance. Very similar. KK Pond, what's up, man? Good to see you. Thank you for coming to the event. It was awesome to meet you in person. He said it was awesome meeting you in Dallas. What do you think about Dennis Porter's ex-post talking about major news about crypto tomorrow? We shall see what the big deal is when the time comes tomorrow. Before we wrap it up here, and I am going to answer a couple more, would you mind please sharing this, liking, subscribing if you're getting value? I don't ever say that enough on here. I appreciate all of that, all the help, and it does help the algorithm, over here on YouTube, X, TikTok, and then also here on Twitter and TikTok as well. We got, thank you guys. I see the likes. Take 3 man. This is getting dollars. Does land investment off count for John DAG? Also explain term life to whole life product. Thanks. I didn't understand any of the first part of that, but I can do the last part. So the term life to whole life. So many people watching probably have children. You probably have dependents. You probably have a spouse. If you have a convertible term life policy, what that means is you have a term life policy that probably doesn't cost you a whole lot today, but you're insured. So God forbid something happens to you, there is a payout to your family. If you want to convert it, you have the capability, and you don't have to underwrite it again. So let's say you get the term life policy while you're healthy, and you have it for a couple years, and you get cancer, or you have a heart problem, or you have a stroke, or you have something that happens to you before you want to convert it to a whole life policy. Well, if you had waited to just set up a whole life policy without the term, now you're probably not going to get the policy that you wanted. That's going to be much riskier to insure you now that you have this pre-existing condition, right? Whereas if you already had the term life policy, you don't have to worry about that. They're going to use the data from before, and that's how they're going to underwrite the new policy. So it protects you in a lot of different ways. Most people don't think about this stuff until it is a problem, which is unfortunate. It's not a priority when you're healthy. It's not a priority to set up a trust when you don't have creditors after you. You would be surprised how many people reach out to us that are in the middle of a divorce, trying to evade taxes, or trying to evade a creditor that want to set up a trust. And I'm like, we can't do that now. You needed to do that before all of this was a problem. And it's the same thing with life insurance. Like, it's not a problem till it's a problem, until you have a pre-existing condition. You're like, oh my God, I should have had this policy in place. I should have had it underwritten years ago. I should have had term or convertible in place. And now I'm not going to be able to get the policy and make sure that my family's taken care of. So that's just one of the huge benefits that I've found. Again, I have a term life policy that's convertible on me. And when XRP pops off and we're generating a bunch of cash flow, I'll be able to max fund a whole life policy and then get the cash value against it, be able to do all the infinite banking and all the fun stuff, right? So it's just something that we've rolled out here recently. If you want to go to Xure Legacy, XURE That's XURE legacy.com. The site is under construction, but Carl's information is there, and he can walk you through all the benefits and how to structure that the right way. What I love about Carl is he's like me. I've known him probably longer than pretty much anybody else I work with. He actually sponsored me when I was a bodybuilder when I was 20. Okay, like a long time ago. Went to high school with his brother. Great guy. He will not sell you anything that you do not need. He will actually turn business away. I've watched him do it. Where he could have closed somebody and he's like, look, like, I can't sleep at night if you buy this from me when you could just get it over here for cheaper. And those are the type of people I want to work with. Those are the type of people that are just going to take care of people and make sure that I never want to damage relationships. I always want to provide people the most value possible. And sometimes that's not us. Sometimes it's somebody else. Sometimes it's a plan that you already have in place. And he will tell you that. So, again, it's XURE Legacy, XURE legacy.com. Carl's information is there's on the page. And you'll just reach out to him. I think it's just carl@xurelegacy.com. I think his phone number is there on the page too, if you want to call him and do it that way. So, but that's, who we're working with and what we're currently offering. We can do annuities, we can do IULs, we can do whole life, we can do we do PPLI. Like there's a ton of stuff. I just think, the term life that's convertible is probably applicable to most people, especially right now before price appreciation. So I think that's going to be, all right, we got one more. We got H. Liz. They say, hey, Jake, saw your video. There was a private XRP trading in the background at a higher price, and the public we are trading at another price. Please tell us that was a lie. That's a lie. There is no private ledger where XRP trades at a different price than what it is on the public ledger. The price of XRP is the price of XRP. I've asked David Schwartz this explicitly, in person and on the internet. So it's documented also. I was like, well, if it's on a side chain or if it's, wrapped XRP and it's trading at a different price, like, could it exist that way? And he said, absolutely not. If it was, people would arbitrage it back to the same price. And David's like probably one of the smartest people that I've ever met in my life. He's funny, but anyway, you'd have to meet him and talk to him, and you've probably seen him on video. You know what I mean? Anyway, so it is a lie. Yeah, there's no different XRP price. Now, I will say this. Ripple does create exact replicas of the XRPL that they put into infrastructure for people, and they will trial it with a separate asset that's native to that ledger that's not XRP. Okay, it's not the real XRP. It's a duplicate. I have heard people say that trades at a different price, depending on the volume within certain ecosystems. So XRP itself, no. But, a replica, sure. That's a possibility. And I think those private side chains will connect to the mainnet once there's enough liquidity in XRP to actually be able to settle that value. And again, this kind of goes back to the theory that once the supply shock happens and there's enough liquidity, that's when the volume would move to the mainnet. Ashley Montgomery, hey ma'am. She says, I think you missed answering my question, or you missed it. Asked about Ripple buyback and who can participate. So anybody that's currently on the cap table of Ripple, if you own shares outright, directly own them, not through an SPV, can participate in this buyback and this tender offer. You would have got an email from Ripple and NPM, and they would ask you to elect to participate by October 6th, and you would have to submit the form that's required in order to participate if you are directly on their cap table, and that's how you would do it. And I think that one is going to be it. I'm sorry I missed you up higher. We got one more. Do you have to be accredited to participate in the XRP yield? For us, yes. For us at Digital Wealth Partners, yes. The yield product that we're about to roll out, no. But for the current products that we have that generate returns, yes. This person, ABC, just asked who David Schwartz is. Give it a Google, my man. David Schwartz is CTO for Ripple. He's contracted as CTO for Ripple. He has many patents that he's filed over the years, all around distributed ledger technology. I would consider him a savant. So yeah, that's going to be it. If you guys do want to join the mastermind, we would love to have you in there. Again, the code for that is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in Social or Carbon 1. If you need the LLC that we talked about, you have $50,000 to $80,000 in your portfolio. You want to make sure that you have creditor protection, you have anonymity, you can season in bank accounts to take profits and generate returns, and you don't want to be rushing around post-price appreciation, being emotional, making poor choices. I would highly recommend that you get that done now. You can just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFF DAG LLC. That's 50OFF DAG LLC. And then last but not least, we do have the promos going on for Digital Wealth Partners. If you have at least $500,000 in investable assets, including your stock portfolio, 401k, IRA, and your crypto, we can work with you, and we would love to work with you. Just go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form. And then if you do have at least $900,000 in digital assets, we are offering 75 basis points for the next 2 weeks. You have to fill out the form and start onboarding by October 10th. We know that qualified accounts, if you have an IRA that you're moving over in order to meet that minimum, will take longer. We will honor it. We will make sure that you get taken care of. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you got some value. If you did, like, subscribe. We'll see you guys Wednesday night. I hope you have a wonderful week, and God bless until then.